I just saw Wicked for Good, and it is a fantastic film. Please go see it in the theater. See it as large as you can if you haven't yet. Absolutely amazing. All of the things that you expect to be fabulous about it are the makeup, the costuming, the set design, the singing, all grand and glorious. What, though, are the 5 things that I think make this film really smart, just truly brilliant things about this film? Well, they're just ahead. Make sure, though, to watch the film first because these are massive spoilers. Okay, number 1, mirrors. There are so many mirrors in this film, often subtly and then sometimes not so subtly. Go watch for them because they are constantly reflecting on something. The characters are looking in mirrors. Obviously, someone like Glinda, you're assuming that she's looking in the mirror because she's vain. Elphaba's looking in the mirror because she's concerned about how much people don't trust how she looks, but it also gets much deeper than that. They are constantly being reflective in mirrors. They're wondering who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, who are they becoming, what do I do next? So these mirrors become symbols of people thinking about themselves internally as well as externally. And this is very brilliantly done in one of the new songs where Glinda, and we're going to talk about those new songs in a minute, where Glinda is looking and almost moving through all of these different mirrors. The mirrors are on the left, on the right, she's going up and going down. And she's not literally moving in them, but we are left in a position of always having to wonder, wait a minute, which way is reality? And so it adds to the fantasy element of this film. It makes it a little bit Alice in Wonderland-y, right? A little like Through the Looking Glass, but it clearly becomes symbolic of the way that Glinda is trying to figure out which way should she go. There's all of these paths before her, all of these different selves that she can become. Which way should she go? And yet they all also lead the same way. She really has no other option but to go and do as she does. And it also just makes it a little bit surreal. Does she need to wake up from the dream that she's created for herself? So watch for these mirrors. There's so many, probably a lot that I missed. And clearly each one is significant. It is intentionally placed there. It is hard to film with mirrors. You have to be careful with the set and making sure that nothing is caught. You don't get a boom mic in there. So every single one of them is in there for a reason. It's very, very, very smart. Okay. There's a mirror scene, number 4. The wedding. The wedding scene, it is mirrored by the scene in which Elphaba is basically walking down an aisle seeing all of these animals trapped and in cages. And it's mirrored by Glinda walking down the aisle to Fiyero, who's basically trapped metaphorically in this cage. He doesn't want to be in. He does not want to marry her. He doesn't want to have to be pretending to hunt down Elphaba. So these two scenes are juxtaposed, right? We're cutting between the two of them, showing the two sides of the characters, the differences in their experiences, but they are also both engaging in the problem of a delusion kind of being evaporated. Elphaba is finding out that she was right, that she really cannot trust the wizard, that he really is doing these horrible things, and that it is even worse than she imagined. And then we have Glinda, who is about to have her bubble burst, right? And they do a beautiful job symbolizing this, I think, by having these butterflies, which is a beautiful moment, by the way, where they have all these gilded butterflies that as she walks through start to fly away. And it is as if her dreams are dissipating off into the wind in this beautiful and lovely way. And so whilst it's clearly exactly what she wanted and how she planned it, it becomes symbolic of this gilded problem. When something is gilded, it is, of course, not gold underneath, right? It's just gilded. So you have these gilded butterflies that fly away, leaving her just there with the reality of there being a man at the altar who doesn't really want to be with her and who recognizes both of their failings, that they should be out doing what Elphaba is doing. So these two scenes brought together show us both the differences but also the deep similarities between these characters and the way that they are kind of caught and creating these worlds for themselves, right? They're both choosing to walk down these aisles. They're choosing to go down the roads that they're going, and both have serious consequences at the end of them. So one of the big questions for the film for number 3 was how are they going to deal with Nessa Rose and the fact that in the Broadway musical she walks, right? That her dream of not having to use the chair anymore is realized. Well, it's a really old trope. It's just a really old problem where basically you have the circumstance where all the viewers who don't use wheelchairs get to feel bad for everyone who does and get to feel kind of like no matter how like unaccomplished you are in your life, no matter how kind of like mundane your life is, you can kind of look and go, well, at least I'm not like them, stuck in a chair, and look at me being someone who gives pity to them. What a good person I am, right? It's kind of very, very Glinda coded in that moment. And those tropes give us that opportunity to feel like good people because we care about others and their stuff. So they eliminate that entirely and instead have Nessa Rose fly as a result of the shoes, meaning that she now has an ability that none of us do, no one other than Elphaba does. And so it's a metaphor, obviously. She wants to feel the way that she felt at the Ozdas ball, which is basically like almost as if you're floating on air, right? So she's given that ability to do that, but it's too literalized. It's not what she actually needs or wants. What she really wants is to be able to be loved by Bach, right? So that's such a brilliant change that fits perfectly with all of the metaphors of the film. But notice also what it does is it helps remind us of the fundamental problem that both Elphaba and Nessa Rose has that is caused by their father. They both have these deep character flaws. In Elphaba's case, her deep character flaw is her belief that she can never be loved for who she is, that everyone upon seeing her is immediately going to hate and despise and revile her. She was raised to believe that by her father. We know that she believes it because when she and Glinda have their row, she says to her, you never thought that someone who looks like me, right? Someone like me could be chosen by someone like him over you, right? That they would prefer me. And so what she really means is someone who looks like me. So she doesn't believe that anyone would pick her. She's always had that doubt. And that has caused her to always lash out, to always be ready to defend herself, always be ready to defend others that she views as like herself. She's just never trusting really anybody throughout the course of her narrative. Nessa Rose has the same problem, but in an inversion. Instead of teaching her that she will always be hated, she's being taught that she needs love. She will always need others. She will always be dependent on others. And you can see that she tries to rebel from that. She's like, no, I can do this myself. But she's been taught that her using a chair is something that other people are going to have to look over. And if you're lucky, someone will love you kind of despite that. So she's been taught that she needs love. And what's the result of that? Well, she needs love, and so she can't let Bach go. And she becomes a monstrous person, trapping him, trapping all other people like him to try and force him to love her, leading to this horrible sequence of events. So that treatment of her, giving her the ability to fly and realizing also that's not enough. That's not the problem. That's not the reason why she isn't loved by Bach. It's because Bach is an ass, right? And he fell in love with someone that he just saw the first time, right? Anyways, moving right along. Number 2, new songs. So this is something that I think that if I know the internet, they're going to get pushback on. People are going to be like, these songs weren't great and grand enough and so on and so forth. And that's exactly what those songs should be. These songs should have not been an attempt to try and be bigger or grander or more significant than the songs of the Broadway musical that are reverberant and powerful and have continued over the last 20 years to make people cry when hearing them. They don't try to do that, and they shouldn't have, and I'm glad that they didn't. They also didn't make songs that were just filler or just time wasters. They're not just patter songs. They are songs that are beautiful, that are sung beautifully, that are written beautifully, that are intended to give us more information about the interiority of the characters and their motivations. And they do it through song, as they should, as it's a musical. So in Elphaba's case, in her song, we learned that the reason why she keeps fighting is for 2 reasons. One, because she can't not. It is who she is, right? And the person who raised her, her true parent, Dulcibert, is the person who acknowledges that fact, right? You're going to keep fighting because that's what you do. But also you realize at that moment that the reason why she is fighting is because that's who her true parent is, right? That's the person who really knows her. That's the person who really raised her. That's the person who's really cared about her and taken care of her as a child. So she can't stop fighting because those are the people that were the only people that really accepted her from her childhood, or the closest that she ever had to acceptance and love from her childhood. So she is now given a clear motivation for, it's not just, oh, well, I care about the animals and this is obviously a wrong thing. It is also why she's able to recognize it's a wrong thing, because they were the only people who treated her like a person. In Glinda's case, right, they do a great job with the song. That's the song where they kind of have the shifting through mirrors, where she's both moving through mirrors, but also not moving through mirrors. We're actually the ones moving through the mirrors. But it's also really great because what the film does is it gives her motivation. What's her motivation? She has to pop the bubble. And it's so wonderfully frustrating because when you hear the song, there's this part of me, at least, that keeps thinking, okay, they need to get to bubble needs to, but then instead they give pop. Instead of burst, they give pop every time. And she literally speaks the word pop instead of sings it. And so it makes it uncomfortable. It is a moment of literally this song doing what the word does. You, as the hearer who is expecting to hear burst, hear pop instead, and it jolts you a little bit. It's a little bit uncomfortable. It's very, 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 very smart. And as my spouse pointed out, there's also a sense in which the word pop gives her the intentionality. She's the one choosing to pop her own bubble, whereas bursting is just maybe something that would happen to it. So the song literally mimics the thing that she has to do, and the lyric of it clearly indicates that for the audience as well. Our bubble is popped. We recognize the fact that Glinda cannot continue as she's doing. She has to make a change. She has to make a sacrifice, and she goes and does it. And so we are given her motivation to her recognition that she has been in a dreamlike state, hence all of the mirrors, right? It wasn't really reality that she had created for herself. It's like being able to move through a set of mirrors. She has to pop the bubble. She's got to go save her friend. Okay, so the last one, the inclusion of the animals. So they do something that the Broadway musical really can't do, which is like bring a whole bunch of non-human animals onto the stage. Sure, I guess they could put people in costuming, but it wouldn't really capture the true plight of the animals that is supposed to be motivating Elphaba in the first place. You know, it'd be more like, cats. You put a bunch of people in like whiskers and fur. It just wouldn't have kind of the same power and reverberance. We're supposed to imagine really animals who are victims of this horrible circumstance. And so when Glinda comes out and she says, all Ozians, she has a message for all the people of Oz. When the animals come out, you realize that what she has done is not just kind of taken on the mantle of what Elphaba is trying to do, right? She's like, okay, now it's my mission too. She is also, just through those words, recognized their personhood. These animals are not just animals, they are people too. They are Ozians, right? And they are all equal in all of that. And so it's a great moment because it causes us to reflect on our own treatment of animals. It is mirrored in our own society, the way that they're horribly abused. You know, we test on them, we torture them, we shove them in factory farms. Everyone who has a cat or a dog knows that dog has thoughts, feelings, can suffer pain, has terrors, has a personality, has plans, right? Like that they really do engage with the world like people, like us. And so the film provides us the opportunity to really reflect on our own mistreatment of them, but also on our mistreatment of anyone that we refuse to recognize has personhood, despite the fact that clearly they have thoughts and needs and feelings like us. And so the film, I think, is also through the animals gesturing towards like immigrants or anybody that's mistreated in a society. But in our case, the fact that they're having to leave, that they're being cast out, that they're being caught, that they're being locked up, that they're being villainized is the real reason for the problem. Wow, it really makes Madame Morrible really seem like kind of like, well, she's like the director of ICE, right? Like she's going and trying to hunt them down and putting them in cages. And at the same time, they also can't let them all out, right? They're telling them that they all need to leave, that they're not true Ozians, while at the same time trying to lock them up. Because think about it, their plan, if all of the animals are actually out of Oz, their plan completely collapses because now the people that you were blaming for your problems are no longer there to blame for your problems. So they have to keep at least some in cages so that they can blame them. As to say, oh, look, no, these are the real problem. And it really mirrors in our society the tendency towards our own government not being willing to kind of recognize, oh, what are the problems in our society? Ours, we as a people create the problems in our society, and our government does that, right? That our government needs to do better, needs to do better for all of us. Oh, no, we can just blame this group of people over there that aren't really people. They're not really us. They're not really Ozians. They're not Americans, right? There's no way that the film is not being very intentional in gesturing towards that. And so with all of that, you recognize the reason for all of the mirrors. The film is giving an opportunity for characters to look at themselves, reflect on themselves. There's mirroring scenes in which the characters are reflecting on the way that they are different from others, and we are seeing the difference that they have with other characters, but also it's a mirror to us. We get to look at ourselves, ask ourselves questions about our own experience, about ourselves as people, also as ourselves as a society. It is just so very smart. I enjoyed it tremendously. I hope you did too. If I missed something, let me know. What do you think was the most brilliant moment in this film? Please pop it in on the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe. It's a huge help. I really appreciate it, and I love to get to talk with you in the comments. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.